I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a detailed look at the Trakke Canna backpack, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. Starting off with the materials on this pack here, we'll just kind of give a quick run through because they are fairly basic. The entire outside shell of this backpack is a dry finish waxed canvas, so you can kind of see that it has a very canvas look to it, but to the touch, it doesn't have that same like waxy feel. It does have a lot. You could feel like the very almost like stiffness of it, but it is quite structured and it does feel really good in hand. It just has a very nice heritage feel to it, which is really complemented by just sort of the design of it in general. There's a little bit of a Trakke logo on the front here, so you can see it says handmade in Scotland, just stitched right in. And then all around the pack itself, it's this nice little wine color here. So outside and inside dry finish wax canvas, which is also weatherproof, and so water will bead right off of it. And then these straps here are cotton webbing straps, and they are fairly comfortable. So I'm actually going to throw this backpack on right now so you can kind of see how it fits. It is nice and small, so technically overall this pack is 11 liters. There's 10.5 liters in this main compartment, and then the front compartment, which is that little zippered pocket, adds an additional 0.5 liters. So overall you have 11 to work with, and I did find that it was fairly roomy. So on the between the inside and the outside, but specifically with this outside pocket, you can see that it has a sort of like lift to it almost. It comes away from the pack, and this pocket is dependent. So when I had this main compartment packed out fully, I was still really able to access this front compartment without it feeling too crunched or pressed in. And so I did have a lot of extra room to work with, which is really nice when I had, to shove a couple extra items in here. This front pocket worked really well for that. So other materials on the pack include these YKK zips with these little round zipper pulls. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them. You just kind of loop your finger through it, obviously, to pull it, and they feel pretty secure. We did have some experience with them breaking after about a year of use in another backpack from Trakke, but in general, they feel very sturdy. However, I think that this ring is just a little bit too thin given the tension that comes when you unzip the backpack. So you can see these like weather-resistant zippers all around the pack, and when I pull on them, it is a little bit stiffer than a regular zipper would be. And it did loosen up over time, but I did notice that when I would pull just with one ring, I kind of like didn't really look forward to opening the pack, if that makes sense, just because the rings are so small that I was like, I didn't want to loop one finger through. I almost felt like I wanted to just like pull on it and grip it a little bit from the side. So that might be just more of a personal preference. I do like the look of them though. I think it makes like kind of a unique feel for the backpack. It just adds a little bit of extra flair. A lot of this backpack, thrives with those styling things. And then you have these two top carry handles, really great for quick grabs on the pack as well. This is the same material as these straps. So taking a look at this back panel here, you can see that it is fairly simple. There's no additional padding on this back panel. There's no additional like aeration or mesh or anything like that. And then in addition, these straps are fairly simple. So it is just that, cotton material that rests right on your shoulders. And I didn't find it to be uncomfortable. It did get a little bit like heavy on my shoulders if the bag was packed out to be completely full and you were taking advantage of that full 11 liters of space, but primarily with really heavy items. So that would be if I was walking around for a while, it would just sort of start to weigh down both on my shoulders and a little bit at my lower back, like right where this little part here starts to hit me. And so in general, pretty comfortable to wear for stints of time, very comfortable to wear if it wasn't incredibly full. So the rest of the team did try this on and kind of found the same thing, that they were fairly comfortable. It sits very nicely on the shoulders, and so that is really nice as well. And then they adjust down here with these metal buckles, And this one here, I did find it very difficult to actually adjust. You can see like I'm pulling, you know, kind of either way on all of these, and they're not really moving. So kind of a love-hate relationship with that. When you get it on, it's not going to go anywhere. However, if you have the backpack on and you're trying to adjust those buckles, it's really difficult. So what you end up needing to do is kind of pushing the material through and then making slow adjustments. You can see that there's a little bit of a dent here, so that's where my adjustment was most of the time. And so then similar, if I wanted to move it back to where I had it, then you really do have to feed it through. The issue with that is that you're feeding it through when it's on your pack or on your back and the pack is weighing down. So it's really hard to make minor adjustments while you're wearing it. So definitely keep that in mind. When I had first gotten this and I was adjusting it to my body, one strap felt a little bit tighter than the other, and I was having a really hard time getting them to match exactly because of the way I had to like shift the pack or take it completely off in order to get a fit. So I would like put it on, adjust it a little bit, take it off, adjust it a little bit, and then I was going back and forth a lot. And it took a little bit to get my fit, but as I mentioned, once you do, it's really not going anywhere. And so that is really handy as well. So on the last kind of feature on the outside of this pack here, 2 water bottle pockets, and I have a water bottle on the inside, so I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like when that is packed out. But let's get into the inside of this front compartment. So opens up in kind of this little half moon here, and what we have is 2 smaller pockets and then 1 larger pocket in the back. And then I'll move my keys first. We can talk about that little hook here. So we have a metal key ring, and that is great, except I don't want to take my keys on and off of this every single time. I want to put them in my pack. And so what I've done is attached a little Night Eyes S-beaner so that I can quickly hook and unhook my keys rather than threading them through every single time. Another thing with this is because the ring is so tight to the pack itself, there's no like longer leash to work with than I would if I wanted to, you know, swing the pack around and put my keys in my door. I would need to take the keys off every single time. And so I added this on myself as just a sort of convenience feature. So that's something to definitely keep in mind, because otherwise you are going to have to thread it, or honestly, because it is so out of the way, if you wanted to ignore it entirely, you could too. So that's definitely sort of a preference thing. It's there if you need it, but not very much in the way if you don't. These front 2 pockets here, I have my wallet in one of them, and then the other I have, this kind of just acts as my like little tech dump pocket. So I have, you know, my headphones and my cables and things like that. And then this back pocket here, I would just toss my phone in. You can also put your phone in here. This is just a standard size iPhone 13. So the pockets do have a decent amount of range. They go, you know, they're the size of this pocket itself. And then you have all of this. You can see if I open it up, you have all of this additional space to work with. So that's kind of what I was talking about when you pack out this main compartment. It doesn't really start to eat into this space, which is really convenient, because if you did want to add a couple of extra items in here, you do have all of that extra. And even when I would pack a ton of stuff in here, it starts to butt up against this back panel with this back pocket. But the back pocket, you can see, still has a decent amount of space to it. And so if I were to, say, have my iPhone in there, there's still all of that extra space where you can really start to like load out that main compartment, and it won't eat into this too much. And so that is really convenient as well. I never really felt like I was pressed for space in this. You know, at 11 liters, it's still fairly roomy. So let's head into the main compartment here. And this is a fairly simple main compartment. So this is the water bottle that I was mentioning earlier. This is a 18-ounce hydro flask. And so let me just show you kind of what that ends up looking like in this side pocket. These side pockets are at a nice little angle there, and then the water bottle slots in easily. So this is something where if the bag was packed out a ton, you can see that it's kind of pushing into this main compartment. And so that if the bag was fully packed out, then I struggled to get something into these pockets. However, the main compartment is fairly roomy enough where if you think it's going to be a little bit tight, you can always put your water bottle in there, and that shouldn't be, you know, a huge competition for space. Another thing I did with these outside pockets is I would just, stick my phone in there, or my wallet or my keys if I wanted something like really especially quick grab. So going back into the main compartment, I just have an extra layer in here. And then otherwise it's fairly empty, but it's, again, as I mentioned, it's, fairly easy to pack out with a ton of gear as needed. And then this back laptop compartment sleeve fits up to a 14-inch MacBook Pro. I have a 13-inch here, and that has a little bit of an additional padding to it, but no false bottom. You can see it meets right at the bottom there. I didn't find that, I could feel it like push in a little bit right here with my laptop. You can almost like see the crease where it sits all the time, but in general, that didn't butt up against me a ton. I think a false bottom might have been nice to see just for a little bit of extra comfort when you're setting it down, because there is no padding, no extra padding on the pack in general. And so, everything else that you wanted to add in here, very much so a dump pocket, but it has that sort of structure to it where even as you have more or less, like say I have only my laptop in here, and then I wanted to put the pack on again, it still has a decent amount of structure to it. So regardless of how much gear you have inside, it's still going to maintain that shape, which I think is really nice because it does have that kind of cool aesthetic to it. So one last note on the materials here, because it is that canvas, it's going to develop some sort of a patina. You can see some kind of marks of frequent like butting up that happen down at the bottom here. And then on the front as well, just like a few little blemishes here and there. But if you like that canvasy style and you like that patina, then that's just a plus for you. And then one last thing is that I do have a cat, and so there's a little bit of cat hair all over this thing, but it comes off really easily if you just do a lint roller, or in general, you can hardly even see from very far away, and so it's something that's pretty easy to adjust if and when it happens. So there you have it, the Trakke Canna backpack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.